Live from the Glenn Gould Studio in downtown Toronto, this is the 2018 Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame induction ceremony presented by Castrol. Ladies and gentlemen, your master of ceremonies for this evening's festivities, Norris McDonald.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and as mentioned, welcome to the 2018 Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame Induction Gala. I'm delighted once again to act as your Master of Ceremonies, and equally delighted to say that the evening, as mentioned, is brought to us by Castrol Canada, and also is being live streamed on fanschoice.tv. Now, we're gathered here tonight to witness the induction into the Hall of Fame of 8 worthy individuals, one corporation, each in his or its own way has made an outstanding contribution to motorsport in our country. You know, we in the motorsport community have much to celebrate tonight. Young Canadian driver Lance Stroll is scoring points in Formula One. Another Canadian, Nicholas Latifi, is knocking on the door. He's doing well in Formula 2. His dad is one of the owners of the McLaren Formula 1 team. And Lance's dad, Lawrence Stroll, is the leader of a consortium that has purchased the Force India team. And do you think they'll rename it Team Canada? That's my choice anyway. DJ Kennington and other stock car racers are turning heads south of the border. Our own James Hinchcliffe, of course, is a star of the IndyCar series and almost equally well known as a star of Dancing with the Stars. Now, it's motorsport, and there is a downside. Robert Wickens of Guelph came into the IndyCar series this year like a panther in a hurricane, and just heading his way to the top was struck down by a devastating crash at the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. It's going to be a long and difficult recovery for him. He is in a rehabilitation facility in Denver, Colorado. He was moved out there just this past week from Indianapolis. But you know, he's a determined young guy, and he says he's going to come back. I believe him. I urge everyone here to keep him in your thoughts. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage the chairman of the Canadian Board of Motorsport Hall of Fame Board of Directors, Dr. Hugh Scully.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special evening. As Norris has said, we are inducting a number of outstanding Canadians, an international award, and there is going to be a Rising Star Award, and all of that will come out during the program. I think important to note that since 1993, when we started, there have been more than 200 honorable members inducted into the Hall, and all of them have made significant contributions as drivers, as builders, in other capacities. It really is a great pleasure. Let me do this year what I forgot to do last year, and that is introduce to you the names of our board of directors. As many of the people tonight, as they talk, will say, this is a team effort, and nobody can do this alone. Certainly, I couldn't do with the board without the people that are there. First is John McGill, who is the vice chair. Daniel Thompson is our treasurer. Jeff Atkinson, with the India event here and others, is on the board. Denis Cadotte can't be with us tonight. He's in Bogota, Colombia, and was making us envious about the weather he was enjoying. Peter Lockhart will talk to you about the Celebration of Speed, which has been a great event and a great success for us. Norris McDonald is the indomitable MC, a remarkable character, very articulate, and we'll be hearing a lot from Norris over the course of the evening. We have with us tonight Nicole Lassalle, we thought that we needed to begin to address diversity on our board, and Nicole kindly agreed to join the board and is making a significant contribution. Jeff Papone couldn't be here tonight. There are difficulties in the family, and that, of course, comes first, so he can't join us. Joel Robinson is on the board. Michael Taylor, who's had a lot to do with the Villeneuves, is with us. Robin Virtue, who has a lot to do with the celebration of speed. And in particular, our general manager, Sid Priddle, has just done an outstanding job for this evening. I'll talk about some of Sid's team in a minute. The other thing I'd like to do is recognize some recent board members. I've been at this since 2011, and there have been some people along the way that have made great contributions. Paul Cook was going to be here tonight, but is awaiting another knee and is having great difficulty getting around, and phoned me today to say he couldn't be here. Tom Dickinson, former chair of the selection committee, is with us tonight. Ron Fellows is in Montreal, couldn't be here tonight, but sends his very best wishes to all of us. Mark Rothermel, who brought a lot about voting into the hall and a lot of considerations. Ralph Lucio, who's had a tremendous amount to do with the hall over time. And Randy Packham, unhappily deceased earlier this year from aggressive malignancy, made a great contribution. What I'd like to do is to invite Tom and Roger and Mark and Ralph to come to the front so that we might get a photo of those who are present who were past board members. Into the center, gentlemen.
Where's the center?
Right over here. And is that Roger? You're here. I saw you. Roger Peer? I can't see past the lights, but I did notice him here earlier. Here he comes. I thought the least we could do is recognize the contributions that these people have made. There we are. Thanks, Roger. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished former members of the board that have made a great contribution. Thank you very much. We're off. Of course, an evening like this can only happen with sponsorship and a lot of people making a great contribution. Wakefield Canada, Castrol, is a major sponsor for the evening. Norris, of course, is the MC. Joel Robinson is a producer. Eric Thomas does voice, and Tim Miller the script, and we've seen some of their work, and we'll be seeing a lot of it as we go forward. Sean Gibbs is the ticket manager, which is quite a challenge as we organize the seating and the tickets and the distribution. And Michael Taylor and Rob Turner have done yeoman work in preparing the silent auction, and I noticed a lot of you out there enjoying this as you were coming in, and I would ask you to bid often and bid high. All of the benefits come to the hall. Bill DeWitkoff does the seating, and he's done a lot of work. And of course, great thanks to CBC and the Glenn Gould Theatre for making the facility available and really making it easy for us to put this together in the evening. And of course, Sid coordinates all of this. He's a remarkable guy. So those are the contributions that have been made for tonight in terms of how this all comes about. And so I'm not going to spend any more time of your time. Again, welcome to the evening. Enjoy the variety of talent and special expertise that you'll see on the screen, and enjoy the comments of our inductees tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And Norris, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scully. Now, to talk about one of the Hall's success stories of the past few years, please welcome to the stage a member of the Hall of Fame and a member of the Board of Directors, Peter Lockhart. Peter.
Thank you, Norris. I believe half of that. You know, it's great. I first of all, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees and award winners tonight. It's a fabulous thing. Motorsport is a passion. The inductees tonight, in one way or another, are very much involved in it. But we have a little thing called the Celebration of Speed that we hold every year out at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. This year we had, through the good graces of Ron Fellows, we have the use of the Grand Prix circuit. We put together 41 fabulous cars and drivers to take the public around for rides. We completed over 2,000 laps in a 9-to-5 day last year. And I'd like you all to know that we will have the Celebration of Speed, the 9th edition, next year on August the 5th, which is a Monday of the holiday long weekend in Ontario. There's nothing like it. The drivers that come out bring fabulous cars, everything from Ford GTs to Porsches to ACR Vipers. Special thanks to Chris Pfaff, who sends out 2 McLarens and a GT3. We have just an exotic lineup of cars, and it's a fabulous, fabulous day. You can find information about it on the Hall's website, and we sell all the tickets online starting in April. So I hope that all of you will come, or at least send friends, and come and enjoy the day with us. Thanks very much.
The woman in the last picture there, and those photographs mostly were taken by John Walker, who's here tonight, marvelous photographer. I didn't mean to lay it on that thick. John is a great friend of mine and a terrifically talented guy. But that woman, I believe, is 91, and she went out there, and 2 years ago, she skydived, and she always wanted to be taken for a ride around Motorsport at speed. And Peter took her around and scared her half to death, and but she had a wonderful time. Now, before I get the program underway, I want to say a little bit about Castrol Canada. This company, for what seems like forever, has been a strong, ultra-strong supporter of Canadian racers and racing. Also been a strong supporter of the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. This goes back to the days of the late Craig Hill. And in fact, Castrol was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1999. For the last 25 years, a quarter of a century, Castrol has sponsored one of tonight's inductees, DJ Kennington. It is a partner in the Pfaff Motorsport Racing Program, and the big news from Pfaff in recent days was the announcement of an entry next year in the IMSA WeatherTech Series with 2 of Canada's young tigers driving, Scott Hargrove from British Columbia and Zachary Robichon from Ottawa. Castrol gives away more free motor oil and gear oil to grassroots racers in this country. You never really hear them boast about it, but just about everybody who's running, whether it's an oval speedway or whether it's a road course in British Columbia, Ontario, or Nova Scotia, they're there in large part because of Castrol. As you know, Castrol is the title sponsor of Castrol Raceway outside of Edmonton, and for many years has been a major supporter of the Canadian International Auto Show, which is held every February at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. So let us give a huge round of applause for a Canadian corporation that does so much for our sport, Castrol Canada. As has been the case in previous years, we do have a silent auction. This is commercial time, folks. Just bear with me here. You know, it's an induction, but this is a fundraiser. So I'll be reminding you periodically throughout the evening to take a look at the silent auction. As Hugh Scully said, bid often and bid high, and please take a look at what we have to offer. There's some great stuff out there. Now, I want to personally congratulate all of tonight's inductees. The Hall doesn't let just anyone in. This is a Hall of Fame, and the people so recognized have made a lasting contribution to our sport, either nationally or internationally, sometimes both, whether it's as a competitor or someone behind the scenes. Some of the honorable members of the Hall who have been inducted previously are with us here tonight. So gentlemen, if you could stand when I call your names, please hold any applause. Ted Graguch is here. Thank you very much for listening to what I just said. You know how it is, people are looking at their watch saying, when are we going to get going here? Tony Novotny. Tony, love you. This is the guy that got CASCAR going all those many years ago, which morphed into NASCAR Canada. Great contribution to Canadian racing. Bill Brack, 3 times Canadian driving champion. Castrol. Doug Kennington. Doug is down here in the front row. Mark Rothermel, he was up here a couple of seconds ago, but we'll get him again. And it's Hugh Scully is a member of the Hall of Fame. Roger Pert. Roger Pert. Get me up here this time, Roger. Want you to stand up. John McGill. Can you believe it? I forgot John McGill last year. He hasn't let me forget it either. Ralph Lucio. Jacques Bouchard. Peter Lockhart. Sid Priddle. And one of my favorite people in the sport, Alex Tagliani. Alex, where are you? If I have forgotten anybody that we have inducted previously, stand up too. Unfortunately, in 2018, we lost an honorable member. This gentleman attended this induction gala every year. If you saw him here, you knew it was induction gala night. Horst Kroll passed away. Horst was one of my favorite people in the sport. He immigrated here from Germany back in the 50s, opened up Altona Motors out in the Highland Creek area of Scarborough. He used to have a garage where he looked after primarily European cars, and there was a vacant lot, a field next to it, where he used to keep a trailer with his race cars. And he was a Formula V champion. He raced in Formula B in the national championship several years in the early 70s. And of course, he's remembered primarily for 2 things. He was the last Can-Am champion in North America, and he gave Paul Tracy his first real big ride in the big leagues. So we will always have fond memories of Horst Kroll and RIP. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 2 years ago, the Hall of Fame introduced the Rising Star Award to recognize young Canadian racing talent. The first recipient was Formula One racer Lance Stroll. Done pretty well with Williams. He'll do better next year. with Team Canada. And last year, it was Caden Lapsevich who won the Pinty's National Championship at the age of 16. It is our pleasure this year to recognize a young man from Toronto making waves in another arena, European Formula Cars, specifically Formula 2. The Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame Rising Star Award for 2018 goes to Nicholas Latifi.
The first time he sat in a kart, racing simply felt natural to our Rising Star Award winner. When he got to the age where he could race cars, he gave it a try, and that's when he said to himself, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life." After finding success in karts in Canada, he crossed the Atlantic in 2012 to try his hand racing in Europe. He knew that going head-to-head against the best young drivers in the world was the only way to make the most of his natural talent, and he proved he belonged in the pinnacle of motorsport. Success came soon after his arrival in Italian Formula 3 and British Formula 3 series. His performances delivered a test and reserve driver role with the Renault Sport F1 team. Last season, he scored his first career Formula 2 win at Silverstone and ended the season with 9 podium finishes, enough for 5th overall in the championship. He returned to F2 this season and was 9th overall in the championship with 1 round remaining. His impressive form in 2017 was rewarded by the Sahara Force India F1 team, which recruited him as its reserve and test driver for 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2018 Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame Rising Star Award winner, Nicholas Latifi.
Hey everyone, so firstly I want to apologize for not being able to be there in person this evening. Currently I'm in Austin, Texas. I was taking part in the free practice session in Formula 1, so that's the reason I couldn't be there tonight. I want to say a huge thank you to the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame for recognizing me this year with the 2018 Rising Star Award. It's a huge, huge honor, and to be representing Canada on the world stage is something I really take a lot of pride in, especially as there's not that many of us Canadians racing over in Europe. Seeing all the messages of support through social media and various other media outlets, really means a lot. Especially when I got to take part in the free practice session in Montreal during the Formula 1 weekend. Seeing all the Canadian flags, all the messages of support really means the world to me. So once again, thank you very much for this recognition, and enjoy the evening.
A true rising star. Okay, we're about ready to go. In anticipation of the start, if I could ask the people who will present the medals to the inductees to join Ralph Lucio and Dr. Scully over here on my left, your right. That would be Bob Deshane, Shelley Robinson, Joel, if he can pull himself out of the control room over there, Bill Brack, Doug Kennington, and I believe whoever the 2 people are presenting the medals to Jim Tario and to Scott Steckly, and I do not have their names, I apologize. Our first inductee is Francois Dumontier.
Since 1978, our inductee has played a major role presenting motorsport in Canada on the world stage. Starting at the age of 27 and entrusted as the Formula 1 Canadian Grand Prix Operations Manager, he's been a major force presenting the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. He worked with former F1 boss Bernie Ecclestone and now deals with the Liberty Media Management team in promoting the Canadian Grand Prix. He and his operations team have also contributed technically to the new adopted modernization program, upgrading the garages, the suites, paddock, and track medical center that as of next year, 2019, will enhance the event internationally. This new member was also instrumental in presenting the NASCAR Busch, now Xfinity Series races in Montreal from 2007 to 2012. Please welcome into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, Francois Dumontier.
Thank you, Nars. Thank you, Dr. Scully. Good evening, members of the board and the selection committee, fellow inductees of 2018, inductees of previous years, ladies and gentlemen. I must tell you that I'm sincerely honored to join an outstanding group of individuals who have forged the history of our sport we all cherish. I also take this opportunity to congratulate all the other inductees, and especially my former colleague, Jim Tario. Jim and I had the pleasure of working together during our Molson years and would like to thank him for his guidance and his friendship. In the spring of 1994, the Canadian Grand Prix GM, a fellow named Normand Legault, stood before me and asked the question that would change my life forever. The question was, would you like to come work with me at the Grand Prix? I'll need to speak French for a few seconds. Ce soir, la toute première personne que je me dois de remercier pour la confiance dont il a témoigné à mon endroit et pour son soutien au fil des années, même après son retrait de l'organisation du Grand Prix, c'est cet exceptionnel promoteur, remarquable homme d'affaires et ami sincère qu'est Normand Legault. As the promoter of the Canadian Grand Prix, Normand Legault taught me the essentials of everything that served me daily, and I will be grateful to him for the rest of my life. There's another gentleman who has been very important in my career. In November of 2009, Bernie Ecclestone ended me the reign of the Canadian Grand Prix. He has always respected the young promoter that I was. I respect him dearly, and I thank him sincerely. Beside Normand, Bernie, and all the parties, governments, sponsors that helped me secure the future of our Grand Prix until 2029, I must also thank the members of my team who worked tirelessly to contribute to the success of our event. Many are here tonight, and I salute them. As well as ASN Canada. Roger, thank you so much, and thank you also to Paul Cook. Je suis extrêmement fier de cette équipe qui n'a jamais renoncé malgré les difficultés que nous avons vécues à l'occasion. Je tiens spécialement à remercier Dominique Fauteux, Bruno Savard, Julie Rioux-Paquette et Dana Gendron qui sont avec moi depuis le tout début. Finalement, je veux remercier du plus profond de mon cœur les êtres qui me sont les plus précieux, eux qui ont été et sont toujours là pour me soutenir, m'encourager, et ce, du matin au soir, dans les meilleurs moments comme dans les plus difficiles. Je vous parle avec amour et fierté de mon épouse Charlène, de mes fils Guillaume et Vincent, et de mes parents. J'adresse un merci tout particulier à vous cinq qui, chaque jour, avez fait et faites toujours de moi un meilleur individu. I would also like to thank many of my friends who are here tonight, especially Jacques Bouchard. Thank you, Jacques, for your involvement in the Grand Prix. I just learned that Alex Tagliani is here. Alex, we go way back together. In closing, I wish once again to congratulate tonight inductees, and would like to add that I'm sincerely honored to join the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. I promise you that I will serve our sport as best as I can for as long as I can. So thanks again for the honor, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Francois. I was chatting with Francois and his PR advisor, Sandrine Garneau, just before the program started tonight, and I said, how's the renovation coming? And they both said almost in unison, you'll love the media center. And I said, that's why they're so successful. They have their priorities straight. Our next inductee is Doug Crosty.
The career of this new inductee began in the late 1960s when he went to watch some sports car racing. This introduction turned into developing and building race cars rather than getting behind the wheel. Working with another Hall of Fame member, Bill Brack, he went to work in the Lotus factory in England and helped develop the first Lotus 5000 car under the tutelage of Colin Chapman. This led to the rebuilding and repurposing of a Lotus 5969, which competed in the Formula B and Atlantic Series in North America and was very successful, winning the championship in 1973, 74, and 75. He then managed a 6-car Formula Atlantic team with Brack and others, including Price Cobb and Jacques Villeneuve, racing in North and South America, Europe, and South Africa. This new member retired as a race car manager and engineer to concentrate on the retail auto sector. But he returned to the sport in the late 1990s to help manage the LA Rainbow Racing Champ Car Light Series entry that won the championship in 1999 with driver Paul Razalowski. As a highly skilled technical and mechanical innovator, this new inductee continues to provide skills as a mentor for race teams currently, along with maintaining and demonstrating the classic Lotus at shows and special race events. Please welcome to the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, Doug Crosty.
And of course, presenting the medallion is 3-time Canadian driving champion, Bill Brack. They made a great team, didn't they?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame for recognizing my contribution to Canadian motorsports. It's very important to me. Special thanks to everyone involved in putting the function together, and also congratulations to my fellow inductees today. Very special thanks to my presenter, Bill Brack, for without him, I would not be here, and who, by the way, was the first member to be inducted in 1993. Thank you, Bill, for all that.
Thank you.
Bill and I have raced and traveled together since 1968. This means this is our 50th year of friendship, which could be looked at as a golden wedding anniversary. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah,
I've known you too long.
me too.
I should have known I would be for the car world, designated for the car world, and as a young teenager, I fixed my mother's Ford Anglia and soon progressed to fixing my brother's Volkswagen. Yes, you could have that engine out in 15 minutes, clutch after clutch after clutch. I was doomed right from the start. My interest in motor racing started in '68 in high school with an automotive course with my teacher. So stay in school and learn. Ken Daniels, who was working on Bill's Mini, Ken taught me the most important lesson, that it wasn't the size of the engine. As a teenager, I believed size was needed for performance. Ken taught me engineering, setup, and tuning the car made all the difference. He was right. I got involved with Bill's Mini right from school.
Mr. Mini.
Mr. Mini. At Harewood, by the end of the first lap, Bill was leading Mo Carter in a Camaro. Ken said, my jaw was down around my belly button. Ken knew then I was hooked on motor racing for the rest of my life. Thank you, Ken. And he's not here tonight. Upon graduation, Bill hired me and beginning my wonderful racing career. Bill purchased Graham Hill's spare Indy car from Lotus, which we converted into the first 5,000 car that we had. And Bill raced this car until he rolled it over in one of the US races, coming to rest upside down near the pits. So I ran out in the US with the police chasing me with their guns out, trying to get me off the track. And upon approaching the car, I could smell fuel. We quickly righted the car. Bill was very happy to see me looking into his visor. unstrapped him, pulled him out, smelling of gas, and yes, he wrote the car off. This gave us a big opportunity, and Bill, I thank him for this. Lotus then invited Barry Sullivan and myself to the factory in Norwich, England, to build the first Formula 5000 car for the series in North America. We designed it with Martin Wade and overseen by Colin Chapman, who was there every day making sure the parts weren't too heavy. This was Lotus's first 5000, which I delivered to AJ Foyt's team in LA and set it up for testing and for everything for North America. Well, with Lotus, I noticed the 5969 of Dave Walker's in the workshop. Several years later, we found a damaged Lotus for sale, so Bill purchased it, and we engineered the car to run in the Formula Atlantic Series, which was a pretty big challenge at that time. First race was at Elkhart Lake, and Bill always keeps reminding me this was a great race. Bill, in practice, goes off the course. And where does he go off the course at Elkhart Lake? Canada Corner. Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. And we had very few spares for this car because we had just come back from England. And however, luckily for us, the tree missed the radiator, and we got a bunch of help and parts to put the car back together. So needless to say, we didn't qualify. But the stewards allowed us to start at the back of the grid.
Over 20 cars.
Over 20 cars. Yeah. By turn one, Bill had passed everyone and went on to win the race. This was big for everybody. And after the race, Bill was approached by all the manufacturers to retire the outdated car, as they said. They now realized it probably would win many more races and cause them much embarrassment. Bill agreed, and I got the opportunity every winter to go to the factories and work along the side of the engineers to build, test, prepare the latest cars for the next season in North America. This led me to engineering and managing up to a 6-driver team with Bill. One of our outstanding races was Three Rivers, where we had a 3-car team, and we finished in the following order. Bill finished the race first. We were running Price Cobb. He finished second. And we had Didi Peroni, which a lot of people should know, running our 3rd car, and he finished 3rd. That was a great achievement for our team. Bill and I went on to win 3 Canadian championships, 1973, 74, and 75, with various cars. As we continued in the Atlantic Series, we introduced new talent to the series, including Jacques Villeneuve, Uncle Jacques. We rode Price Cobb, Kevin Cogan, Taco Wads. We raced competitively in North America, South Africa, and Europe. We traveled a lot. After motor racing, Bill and I went into a partnership and owned Maserati Canada together and stretched the dealership across Canada. Subsequently, I opened my own shop, Crosstech Automotive. And in 1999, after 20 years of racing retirement, I returned to run a rookie in the Champ Car Light Series. This gave me a wonderful opportunity to share my racing experience with my 2 daughters, Jennifer and Michelle. Also, my team included Jim Burke and my wife Rose, who catered to all the team's needs. It became a real good family affair. It was a very successful year as Paul Rasadowski won the series and all the awards. We got Rookie of the Year, you got the most poles, and the most wins. We walked away with every trophy for the series. The rest of the series people weren't very happy. Later years, I had a successful career with Mercedes-Benz, overseeing day-to-day operations of 2 dealerships, Burlington and Hamilton, and retired in 2015. My journey would not have been possible if I didn't have the wonderful support of my parents, Mike and Lena, and my brothers, Robert, Roy, Larry, Jimmy, and my children, Jennifer and Michelle, my truly great friend, Jim Burke. Thank you also to my wonderful friends who are here tonight and those who have sent messages from across the pond and other places. Special thanks to those who have flown from across Canada. Also, especially thanks to Rose for your love and support and all that you have did for this celebrating lunch today that we had at our home with a lot of people and friends. Thank you very much.
Wow. I just got to say a couple of things about Doug. I would have not won any of these races without him. He is the best technician I have ever met, and he's helped me to be the first inductee in the Hall of Fame here in Toronto.
Our next inductee is Jim Tario.
Large-scale motorsport events take countless hours of planning, construction, and implementation. And our next inductee has engineered one of the largest events in Canada, the IndyCar Honda Indy Toronto. For more than 30 years, he's been director of operations for the track through the streets of Toronto's Exhibition Place, from the original track layout of the initial 1986 running, working with the first organizers and promoters. His unmatched skill and expertise in track operations has brought him to work on other events in North America and around the world. He is also responsible for overseeing the track build for the IndyCar street race in St. Petersburg, Florida, and held a similar role when the Verizon IndyCar Series raced in Vancouver, Brazil, and San Jose, California. Confidently approaching changes, logistics, and dynamics over the years, our inductee continues to help build and present some of the largest temporary racing venues in the sport, with high-quality product safety and innovation, with national and worldwide recognition. Please welcome into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, Jim Tario.
Presenting the medal to Jim Tario is Kevin Savary, who is one half of Savary Green Promotions, promoters of the Honda Indy Toronto and other races. Go ahead. It is my
Good evening. Yeah, we know that. Francois, thank you very much, and the feeling is mutual. Thank you to the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame for this honor. Congratulations to my fellow inductees. I am humbled to be in such extraordinary company. To receive such an honor, you need the help and guidance of many groups and individuals. Trust me, I have a lot of people to thank, some tonight and many in the following weeks. The main thing that I want to talk about tonight is volunteers. Without these dedicated groups, there would not be a race. They work selflessly, professionally to ensure the weekend runs smoothly. They come from all walks of life and sacrifice work, family, and vacation time for us. One group in particular is BARC. They are the cornerstone for the racing in Toronto and have made me look good on numerous occasions. Thanks to Scott Ellsworth as a representative of BARC and also as an individual. Starting in this business, one person I'd like to thank right off is Hugh Scully, who helped this racing newbie through the trials and tribulations of medical safety and disaster plans, some of which never existed prior to 1986. Sid Priddle, thank you for guiding me through Media 101. This helped keeping my foot out of my mouth for many years. I would like to thank two special people who started me in this business. They are a key part of Toronto being on the world racing map to this day, Lance and Shannon Schaefer. Landlord and city representation is an essential part of a successful event. They walk a fine line between client and their management, and I've had the pleasure to work over the years with many of the best. And it's just nice to see the two of them are in Toronto. I'd like to thank Jeff Gay and Jamie Needler. We all remember the split in open wheel racing. It looked like, at that time, it looked like my career would go in another direction. Then I met two individuals who had a new, innovative approach to promoting racing. In these leaner times, they stuck to their convictions and business sense to help and revive the industry. So here we are 9 years later and counting, hopefully. Thank you, Kevin Savory and Kim Green. On the series side, you meet a lot of people. You need to build good working relationships and trust. There are too many to thank tonight, but I will thank one who has helped me achieve this honor, Tony Koppman. Sponsors. In the beginning, Molson's for their contributions in the past, and Honda for the future, and also Castrol tonight for this event. We have all worked weekends, late nights, and holidays, and are only able to do this with the help of family. They make sure our home life goes on and put up with our little dramas. Special thank you to my wife, Susan. Where's Jacques? There are other individuals I'd like to thank, and I know I'm leaving some out, but as I say in the next weeks, I will thank them. Jeff Atkinson, Bob Singleton, Peter Jeffrey, Tony Lino, Stephen Timms, Dave Lambert, Bill Stockwell, and Jack Long. And one that I want to make sure I will not forget, who has really helped me over the years, is Roger Peart. Once again, thank you for this honor, and thank you very much. And just one more thing for Sid. This is for Ralph the Elf.
Okay, sometimes these evenings can get a little too serious. So it's 1991. Jim Tario, lifelong bachelor, good-looking guy. Gonna marry Susan. His friends at the Molson Indy, and it was the Molson Indy at the time, decide that they're gonna produce a spoof video, kind of an obituary to bachelorhood. One of those things where, gee, Jim isn't going to be able to just go play a game of golf anytime he feels like it, and going out with the boys. And they did this up professionally, and at about 8:45 in the morning of Friday, the first day of the Molson Indy weekend, they played it on the big screens around. So I had a job at the IndyCar race in those days. I was looking after the photographers, scouting out locations for them to take their pictures, and there was a lot of photographers in those days. Anyway, I'm sitting in my little cubby hole about 11:15, and this guy comes running in, and he says, "My God, did you hear the news?" And I said, What news? And he said, "You know that young, good-looking operations guy here, Jim Tario?" I said, "What?" He said, "He's dead." I said, "Jim Tario dead? When?" I've been in the newspaper business for 100 years. You can go and have a physical examination at your doctor's office, complete with an EKG, and die of a heart attack walking out of the office, so you never know. Well, it's all over. All the photographers are talking about it. I said, "Where and when?" Well, in fact, they actually had a tribute to him at 8:45 this morning. I said, "He's not dead, he's just getting married." Fake news, right? Our next inductee is Jacques Villeneuve.
Born in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Quebec, our inductee grew up in Monaco, where his parents Gilles and Joanne lived the dream of his famous father, racing in Formula One for Ferrari. He first stepped into a kart 3 years after his father died in a qualifying crash at the 1982 Belgian Grand Prix and began to create his own racing legacy. After racing in Formula 3 in Italy and Japan, he returned to North America to try his hand at Formula Atlantic with Forsyth Green Racing. 5 wins in 15 starts and third overall in the '93 championship earned him a spot with Forsyth Green's kart IndyCar team the next season. It was a partnership that delivered the 1995 kart championship and a sensational victory in that year's Indianapolis 500, recovering from 2 laps down. A move to Formula One in 1996 brought more success with a pole in his very first F1 race and a second-place finish in his debut race after an oil leak slowed his progress. A year later, our inductee became the first and so far only Canadian driver to win a Formula One World Driving Championship in a dramatic showdown with Ferrari's Michael Schumacher. With his F1 title, he became one of only 3 drivers to win the kart championship, the Indianapolis 500, and a Formula One World Driving Championship, joining Emerson Fittipaldi and Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame International inductee Mario Andretti. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, Jacques Villeneuve.
I would like to thank the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame for the induction. It's an honor and I'm flattered to be part of this special group. I'm sorry I cannot be with you. I'm traveling with Formula One, but my heart and my thoughts are present, and congratulations to all the other inductees.
I was about to say Jacques can't be here tonight. Then they were going to run the video. Anyway. I wrote a column a week ago in Toronto Star Wheels where I said if anybody bought a ticket to this gala as a result of reading that column, I would introduce them from the stage. I have to say this. Is there anybody here who bought a ticket as a result of reading my column last week? Thank you, Jim Tario. The only reason I do that is because, believe it or not, I put that in my column 4 years ago, I think it was, for the first time, and a bunch of people came, and I forgot to introduce them. So I'm not making that mistake again. Our next inductee is John Sambrook.
A former road racer who began his Canadian racing career in 1959, this inductee raced at the regional, national, and FIA level and some VIRAC vintage racing. But he is best known for his work in driver development and tenure with the Canadian Automobile Sports Clubs, where he held a variety of executive positions. Through the 1960s, he was responsible for the development and training of 250 student racers, becoming CASC's national race director, with strong involvement with the Players' Challenge Series and the Molson Quebec Championship. After hanging up his driving gloves in 1973, our inductee continued his work with high-level racing events at Mont-Tremblant, Saint-Air, and Trois-Rivières. He was also a track designer during the 1960s, providing the drawings and models for Trois-Rivières and other circuits. In the mid-1990s, he returned to his passion, providing counsel to VIRAC to introduce and develop new Canadian racing talent. Please welcome into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, John Sambrook.
Well, I learned about this honor a few months ago, And you have a series of feelings that you go through. And of course, the first one is, you're pretty thrilled with this kind of stuff. You're honored. And then recognizing who you're actually going into with and who has come before, you're really quite humble about it. You think, my God, why me? And I'm not going to answer that question. But I was then quite gratified to be here. And in some ways, I would like to say that the biggest, feeling, emotion, is of actually appreciation. And the appreciation all starts with this guy. It had never occurred to me that I was ever going to do anything like be in the Hall of Fame, although I must say I've rubbed shoulders with many of them and enjoyed the feeling. But in the case of Bob Duchesne, he came to me as I was having a pretty serious bout of lymphoma, and it was last year. And he said to me, John, I think you've got the credentials to be able to go into the Hall of Fame. Do you think between us we can put together, a decent presentation? And I said, well, I haven't got a lot of energy, Bob, but I'll do the best I can. So he said, the best has got to include staying alive. He said, they don't induct posthumously. So I said, okay, well, we do the best we can. So I went through the end of 2017, and finally, I took my final tests, having finished all the treatments, and now I am waiting for the result. And the phone rings. Hello. This grim voice came over, and I thought, oh my God, this doesn't sound good. He said, this is Dr. Scully calling. So I said, oh, this must be bad news. So he said, are you John Sambrook, the race driver? I think he must have thought he had the wrong number. And I said, yes. So he said, well, no, it's good news. He said, we're going to induct you into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. So I said to him, oh, are you phoning me to make sure I'm still alive? So clearly I am. So. And I would like to say, I'm enjoying my motor racing career still. I just had an absolutely wonderful weekend at the celebration at Motorsport at the end of September, and did, within a tenth of a second, the fastest time I have ever done in my current car. So I'm looking forward to next year. So anyway, so that brings me from this inspiring man here to the people that asked me to be inducted, which is Dr. Scully and his board, and I would like very much to thank them for considering whatever I've done over the years, and you saw a few pictures up there, which is very interesting. I've sort of done most of it, and I thought to myself, how can people possibly remember whatever happened when I was first coming into this sport in 1959. I mean, it sounds so long ago now. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, the main thing is that I am here, and I want to also, of course, appreciate not only the board for inducting me, but also I have a family. And the interesting thing about families is when you get so involved in a thing like motorsport, they either drive you out of it or they implicitly support you. And so although I don't have them crewing for me, wrenching for me, they are for me. And I think, you've got to have that kind of support behind you if you're ever going to have a long career in anything. So I'd like to thank my family, Dr. Scully, this lovely, inspiring man, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, and nice to see you all.
Wow, how do you follow that? Our next inductee is Scott Steckly.
Our next inductee entered the world of asphalt oval track racing from his Central Ontario base in 1992, and for the next 5 years was very successful on the bull ring tracks in the area. Setting his sights higher, he began to compete in Castrol Canada's National Stock Car Series in 1999, and less than a decade later had captured the first of 5 national championships in what became the NASCAR Pinty Series. After his first title in 2008, he won 3 more in 2011, 2013, and 2015 before retiring. Along with these championships, he compiled an astounding 19 wins, 17 poles, and more than 4,800 laps of competition. That's about 2,000 more laps than his closest competitor. Our inductee has kept active in the sport since, fielding teams and drivers like Jacques Villeneuve, Alex Tagliani, and Donald Teege. Off the track, he's played a prominent role in charity work with local food banks and toy drives, along with partnering with Canadian Tire in promoting their Jumpstart for Children initiative. Please welcome into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, Scott Steckly.
Thank you, Wendell. Wendell Herb and Herb Transport have been a longtime sponsor, a huge supporter of my racing career, and a great friend over the years. So thank you, Wendell. I'd also like to congratulate all of my fellow Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame inductees. When we won our first championship, or our last championship 3 years ago, I thought my speech-giving days were over, but no such luck. So this will be brief. 26 years ago, some friends and I built a stock car and raced for the first time at Barney Motor Speedway. Although we won the feature that night, I never thought that first win would lead me here to the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame. This is such an honor. I've always loved the sport of racing, and building and driving race cars have been my life's work. I've had many great opportunities over the years and have worked with a lot of great people. I could not do what I have done or be as successful without the support of so many people involved in my career. From sponsors, track owners, the NASCAR Series teams, other drivers, my unbelievable crew, and my incredible family, they have all played a huge part in the success and accomplishments I've been able to achieve. Thank you to all of those very important people and the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame Committee for this amazing honor. It means so much to me. Thank you.
There's few racers that have contributed more to NASCAR's racing in Canada than Scott Steckly. Scott, a 4-time champion, 19 wins, over 5,000 laps led. You're the ultimate racer for us in Canada, and we're very proud of you. Not only as a driver, but as you continue to compete as an owner. So on behalf of all of NASCAR, we're very honored and proud of you as one of our drivers and competitors, and congratulations on your induction in the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Now, Scott, I want to congratulate you on that speech. Not bad. you still have a little work to do to catch up with your wife, Penny, who 10 years or 12 years or however years ago it was, made, without a doubt, one of the greatest speeches about racing and racers and racing families that I have ever heard. And I can still hear her talking about the sacrifices that have to be made in order for racing to be a success. And she's here with you tonight. So congratulations to you, but as I say, you got a little brushing up to do. And one last thing, I know you've heard this 1,000 times before, but I'm now saying this in public. John Waldy, Junior Hanley, and I are coming to lunch. Promise. Our next inductee is James Robinson.
Before the internet and social media, motorsport fans looked toward television and print media for their information and coverage. Our next inductee tried to present a feeling of being at the track through his television production. Special care was taken with soundtracks and presenting commentary that was often lacking. This aspect, along with the visual presentation, helped the world of auto racing come to life across Canada. Starting in the 1960s, he became a pioneer in storytelling to the Canadian auto racing community. He was in charge of filming the original Canadian Grand Prix for television, bringing the sport's drama and heroism to homes across the country. As motorsport grew in the 1970s, our inductee continued with F1 while also producing an acclaimed documentary on Gilles Villeneuve and the history of Motorsport Park. The Toronto native then produced the Players Atlantic Series for CTV. In the 1980s, the Canadian motorcycle racing scene exploded in popularity, partly due to the television package that our inductee produced for the Canadian Superbike Championship. He also was the driving visual force behind Honda Michelin's success, along with the Export A2000 and Rothman's Porsche series. During the 1990s, his production company helped make the Castrol Super Series a household name. His expertise, however, wasn't limited to just the Canadian scene, as he and his production company was chosen to be the world feed director for Canadian Champ Car races and the Montreal F1 events. Through his broadcasting efforts, he helped NASCAR transition the Castrol Series into a worldwide brand, making it Canada's most successful national touring series. Along with motorsport media production, he has also supported the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame with volunteer and archival work. Directing and producing over 500 motorsport titles for television in both English and French, this new inductee has provided millions of Canadians with the opportunity and ability to watch their heroes race from the comfort of their living rooms. Please welcome into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, James Robinson.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to congratulate the other inductees and especially want to thank the nominating committee for this honor. I've attended a few races over the years, and the thing that I learned early on was that there's a great many similarities between being a professional race driver and making television productions. Both of us want to win. We both want to edge, we both want to look for an edge, something that sets us apart from the others, and especially catches the attention of sponsors so that we can keep doing the thing that we love most. And this was made apparent to me while I was making a documentary on the history of Grand Prix racing during an interview with one of the old-timers, Bugatti driver Louis Chiron. I asked him what was the defining moment in his career, and he said, winning the 1931 Monaco Grand Prix. In his words, I was a privateer racing my Bugatti out of my pocket against the big factory teams. I had to do something different to get the edge on those teams to be noticed. So the night before the big race, he and his brother Maurice went into the garages and he retrofitted an extra can of petrol into the gas line. He went on to say that, I planned when the other teams pitted for fuel, I can open my little gas can and keep going to finish, which he did, and by winning, he was picked up by the Works Bugatti team. So with that in mind, I thought, you know, how can I get edge out my competitors, do something different? So I decided to put an onboard camera into a late model ASA stock car in a race at Old Cayuga. Well, now, you know, onboard cameras are everywhere, but then it was a real novelty. I didn't have a camera, so off I went to a shop that rented VHS cameras. Said to the guy, look, I'm shooting a wedding on the weekend, need a camera. Guy says, hey, no problem. Do you want insurance? Insurance, sounds like a good idea. Now I needed a driver to let me put the camera in his car, and as probably many of you know, no driver wants to add any weight to his car. However, Mark Martin says, yeah, you can put it in my car. So we fit it in, punched the record button, sent him on his way. However, doesn't Martin put his car into the wall partway through the race? The camera dismounts, knocks against his helmet, and is brought back to me in pieces. Monday morning, I go to the shop, look at the guy, put down what's left of the camera and say, insurance, that was a good idea. But still, you know, I salvaged the tape, and when I looked at it, all I got was static, a little bit of racing static, because of the severe vibrations inside the car, lifted the tape off the record head. So I thought, so what can I do about that? And I thought, you know what, I'll get somebody to hold the camera. That way it'll suck up all the vibrations and might get somewhere with this thing. So off I go to Shannonville for a Castrol Superbike race. I find my old pal, Craig Hill, my longtime supporter, and say, Craigie, I need someone to sit on the back of a Superbike as a passenger, holding a camera for a couple of laps while 4 or 5 other riders pass and get past so I can use this stuff for an opening. So Craig finds a guy willing to have the camera duct taped to his hand and his arm. And I put him on the back of a Superbike meant for one person, and then say, pat him on the shoulder and say, listen, you're going to be okay. Off they go. However, racers being racers with free track time start to race each other. And when I get the tape back, I've got this poor guy screaming to the dry rider, slow down, and his arm is waving up and down at 160 kilometers per hour down the back straight. So as you can appreciate, making these productions takes a lot of cooperation. It takes skilled camera operators that can anticipate a crash or a pass. You know, as my cameraman friend Claude Garapi put it so succinctly in Canadian terms, Jim, you need guys who can follow the puck. And you need creative film and video editors who can massage these races into an entertaining package that talented sound engineers take and seamlessly blend in sound effects, music, and voiceover into a finished on-air product. Add to that the color and race announcers, on-camera talent, gifted professionals that can set the scene at the top of a show or dig out stories in the pits. So you see, it takes a village to create these shows, and I share this award with each and every one of you, especially with my family, my children, Shelley and Joel Robinson, and my grandchildren, Christiana, Tegan, and Myle, and also my loving partner, Joanne, who so far hasn't complained about my racing stories. So thank you all. But now it's a moment to say, probably for the last time, it's a wrap.
Jim Robinson's been deeply involved in creating the motorsports heritage and creating motorsports fans in Canada through their living rooms or through the grandstands at Canadian racetracks for a long time, since the 1960s even. So Jim, your contribution to building motorsports and NASCAR along the way with that, it's a great honor on behalf of all NASCAR to congratulate you on being inducted in the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Our next inductee is Douglas James, better known as DJ Kennington.
His name is well known in Canadian oval track racing, but he has ventured far from his roots in several NASCAR series in the United States. From his southwestern Ontario home, our inductee lit up the NASCAR Pinty Series, winning the championship in 2010 and 2012. He also competed in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and has registered several starts in the top-rung Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. He's totaled 50 Xfinity starts and a dozen Cup events, including 2 Daytona 500s. This year with Gaunt Brothers Racing, he competed at Bristol with a car dedicated to the Humboldt Broncos Hockey Club, auctioning off parts of the tribute car. While he continues to race on a part-time basis in NASCAR's Senior Series, our inductee stays focused on the NASCAR Pinty Series, and some of his records include 5 consecutive wins and most wins in a single season. This season, he finished on a high note, winning the finale at Jacques Motor Speedway, placing 3rd in final points. He also holds a record of another sort, as he continues to partner with Castrol Canada, his primary sponsor, for 25 years. It speaks volumes about his ability to not only drive a stock car quickly, but successfully represent a sponsor's product. As well as racing himself, he prepares cars for other drivers locally and nationally, and often mentors the drivers. He is without peer when it comes to representing Canada and his sponsors in international stock car racing. Please welcome into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame, DJ Kennington.
Thanks.
Well, it's a true honor to be here tonight. I just want to start off by thanking the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame. I never in a million years would have expected this opportunity when I first started out racing go-karts when I was 5 years old, but here we are tonight, and like I say, couldn't be more honored. Thank you very much for that. My fellow inductees and everybody that's in the Hall of Fame before me, it's a true honor for all of us, and I know we've all had contributions in motorsports, but my journey's been an awesome one. I see a lot of the videos. I love watching the videos, and people talk about their careers and what they've done in motorsports, and I don't like listening to Scott talk about how many laps he's led and how many races he's won, but I think most of those races you won, I was second, Scott, so I got sick of that, just so you know. But now I'm chasing all your cars on a regular basis with Alex Tagliani and all your great drivers, but congratulations. We've come a long way from Delaware Speedway many years ago, and I would have never have guessed that my career path would have gone this far. But let's be honest, this whole night's presented by Castrol, and my whole career has been presented by Castrol. Unbelievable. Dave Fifield, I get emotional when I talk about it because I couldn't do what I do without them, and I wouldn't be here today without them. And to come from 2 national championships, to run 25 years sponsored by the same main sponsor, that's almost unheard of. We signed a 5-year deal last year for another 4 years to come. Hopefully we can sign another 5 after that. I don't think I'm quite ready to quit yet, but to come from what we've done to race 2 Daytona 500s, it's what everybody else has said up here tonight. It's not just me. I'm just a lucky guy that gets to put my name on the board, and the guy, the driver, gets all the stardom and all the stuff, but it's all the people behind the scenes that have made this happen. My teams over the years, my crew members, they give up countless hours, countless weekends. I'm sure their wives hate them. Heck, after a full season, I usually hate them. But, I mean, I can't do it without them, so unfortunately we got to go through this together. But my dad, everybody knows he's my hero. He's in the Hall of Fame before me, and he said to me, I made it here a lot sooner than he did, but the only reason I'm here that much sooner than you, Dad, is because of you. I wouldn't be here without you. My family, my sisters, my mom, they all support me. And then comes to my wife. She came along a while ago. I'm going to tell this story real quick. This is a good story about racing families, how racing families stay together. The first time I ever met my wife, or actually knew who she was climbing the fence at Barrie Speedway, calling me everything but a white man. Yeah, I had an altercation on the racetrack with her cousins, Don Thompson Jr., to put it to exact. Her cousin's father owned the team, and I apparently wrecked Don Thompson, and I was not popular. 7 years after that, I married her. So I guess I can't only drive race cars, I can win women. But Jamie, thanks for everything you've done for me. My kids, you've given me the best gift there ever was. My boy Chase, my daughter Sydney, all the racing and all the accomplishments, everything I've done, I hope they have as much success as me, but I hope they have twice as much because they mean the world to me. Castrol, Dave Fifield, the whole gang took me out tonight. Thank you so much for everything you've done. I can't do it without you, and I never want to do it without you. So this night was presented by Castrol, and thanks again for that. Everybody that's ever had a hand in my career. I'm blessed, I'm honored, and I'm very, very proud to be in this Hall of Fame. Thank you so much.
From the entire NASCAR family, it's an honor to congratulate and welcome DJ Kennington into the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame. DJ, for a long time, you've been a great steward of our sport in Canada. From your first win when you were 16 years old to the decades that you've driven, 2 championships, 26 wins, and our NASCAR Pinty Series. Couldn't be more proud of you, and congratulations.
We only have 2 father-son combinations in the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. We have Doug Kennington, now we have DJ Kennington, his son. We had Gilles Villeneuve, and tonight we inducted Jacques Villeneuve, both on the same night. It's really kind of neat. And congratulations, DJ. You know, last Sunday he was going 200 miles an hour at Talladega. Next week he's going to be going a little slower, but just as fast at Martinsville. You want to talk about a busy racer. He drives in the Xfinity Series. He drives in the Truck Series. You've even taken a shot or two at the Modifieds. Just absolutely marvelous. So congratulations, DJ Kennington. Our last inductee, this time in the international category, is Honda Canada.
Soichiro Honda was famous for saying, without racing, there would be no Honda. Internationally, Honda has always been center stage with its motorsport efforts, and Honda Canada is no different. From racing 2 wheels on dirt or having the right hand cranked on asphalt, from grassroots road racing programs all the way up to the pinnacle of IndyCar racing, to hosting one of the largest sporting events in the country. Honda plays a key role in developing young talent in this country through its involvement in racing series up and down the ladder, in sports cars, open wheel, rallying, motorcycles, and karting. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2018 Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame's international inductee, the Honda Motor Company.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Gardner, President and CEO of Honda Canada. It's my honor and privilege to accept this award on behalf of all Honda associates, both in Canada and across the globe. I want to thank the board for your recognition, and of course, congratulations to all of tonight's recipients. It's quite humbling for me to be here and watch all that you have accomplished and share the stage with you, so congratulations. Honda will be celebrating our 50th year in Canada on March the 11th of next year, so this is a great way to kick off our festivities. Now, as you just heard Eric Thomas say in the video, why is motorsport so important to Honda? He just reiterated Mr. Honda's famous words that without racing, there would be no Honda. In preparation for my remarks this evening, I set out to determine, was that really a true statement? Did he actually say that? I uncovered a March 20th, 1954 speech that Mr. Honda gave to a group of associates. Let me read you a short excerpt. Some 5 years have passed since the founding of our company. Since I was a small child, one of my dreams has been to compete in motor vehicle races all over the world with a vehicle of my own making and to win. I've reached the firm decision to enter the TT races in the Isle of Man next year. Let us bring together the full strength of Honda to win to this glorious achievement. The future of Honda Motor Company depends on this. So I guess you could say that Mr. Honda was all in on motorsports. I won't try to list all the global accomplishments and accolades that have followed. We all know they're numerous. But I will talk for a moment about our racing activities here in Canada. Of course, most visible is our partnership with our friends Kevin Savary, Kim Green, and Jeff Atkinson as title sponsor of the Honda Indy. But there is a lot more. I reached out to Art St. Cyr, president of Honda Performance Development, and asked for his thoughts on Honda's participation in motorsports in Canada. And here's what Art had to say. He said, Dave, very simply, we love racing in Canada because of the passion that Canadians have for motorsport. And of course, we also have our own A-team. That's EH A-team, running IndyCar featuring Canadian drivers James Hinchcliffe and Robert Wickens. Now, I can tell you that what has stood out for me over the years has not been so much the machines or the competition, but the quality of the people that you meet in motorsports. By participating in racing series across the country, whether it be two-wheel, four-wheel, whatever, we have the chance to interact with Canadians of all ages and all skills. And I'm always amazed at the courage, compassion, and humility of those that you find in motorsport. And those, of course, who represent our brand. And I'd like to give you a couple of examples. Norris, I was very happy this evening to hear you mention the two Canadians that drive for us in the IndyCar series. A couple of years ago when James Hinchcliffe suffered significant injuries at his crash at the Indy 500, against doctor's orders, he traveled to Toronto for the Honda Indy to meet with the kids at our Make-A-Wish event that we hold on Fan Friday. Because, as he said to me afterwards, well, Dave, it was just something that I had to do. And unfortunately, as Norris mentioned a few months ago, one of our other A-team members, Robert Wickens, suffered serious injuries at a race. I reached out to Robert to let him know about the event tonight, and he sent me a message at about 5:27 tonight that I'd like to convey to you. This was my first season in IndyCar and my first with Honda. We enjoyed immediate success, podiums, a pole, and Rookie of the Year in the series and the Indy 500. I learned how the company operates and can see why they are successful. It was awesome being able to drive a Honda to the podium of the Honda Indy Toronto and help them win the Manufacturers' Championship. Please convey to everybody in the room tonight my thanks for their immense support during my recovery. It has meant the world to me, Carly, and our families. My road to recovery will be long, but I promise I will be fighting every day to be back as soon as possible. Thanks to everybody, and have a great evening. I think the traits that James and Robert have demonstrated really exemplify what it was that Mr. Honda was talking about back in 1954 when he said racing is everything to Honda. So once again, on behalf of all Honda associates, both in Canada and the globe, thank you for tonight's recognition, and please enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Now, before I bring the festivities to a halt, I would invite Dr. Scully back to the stage for a few concluding remarks from him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an evening. What a group of accomplished individuals. And all of us congratulate the inductees. But on your behalf, on behalf of the whole room, Norris, let me say thank you to you for a stellar evening with a lot of detail and a lot of humor. Thank you very much. It is a unique honor and a great pleasure for me to be the chair of the board and participate in events such as this, recognizing the great talent and expertise that we have in Canada. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my challenge to you for the rest of the evening is to enjoy, have a glass or two of wine, enjoy the snacks, and bid often and bid high. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
I hate it when guys steal your lines and steal your thunder. He was looking at these crib notes beforehand, so now I know what it is. Anyway, yes, this does conclude the formal portion of the evening. If the inductees could come to the stage, however, in a few moments for a group photo, it would be appreciated. I want to thank the staff here at the Glenn Gould Theatre once again for another great job well done. The silent auction, okay, I'll say it again. Bid often, bid high. And great stuff on offer. Thanks to Michael Taylor for that. As I say, it's a fundraiser, so it's a cash bar, but it is open until 10, so we've got about another hour and 20 minutes or so. Snacks are available, and the inductees will be available to chat and to sign autographs. And thank you very much. Safe home, and good night.